And we're back on What She Said. I'm Sharon Caddy, Christine Bentley over there. We are so excited to be welcoming Vanessa Urachi to, did I say that right?
You did indeed.
Oh, I'm so, that was, because I wanted to get it right, because we're so excited to have TD on board for this brand new segment, Your Story, Your Future.
Yeah, we're very excited as well, so thanks for the invitation.
Well, the thing that's so wonderful about this is I think women, as you're going to tell us, TD has done extensive research on women and their money, and how women's wealth is changing as a percentage of sort of global wealth. Mm-hmm. And there is none of the other major banks have anything specifically designed for us women. And you have done a lot of research on this.
Indeed, we've done quite a bit of research. It's been a 3-year journey at TD. And I think what's so incredible is the women in Canada now influence over $1.3 trillion of investable assets. And they control more than 50% of the money in motion. And what that means is really the money that's moving from one advisor to another. So it's a massive market for the advisory industry for sure.
So what is the industry in general doing to address the needs of women investors? Well, and obviously not enough is being done, because TD has jumped into the fray to say we're gonna serve the needs of our women clients.
Well, it's a great question, because I think lots of folks in the financial industry do terrific work with women on a one-to-one basis, but from an enterprise approach, in terms of saying we're going to make this a priority at the top of the house. Not as much commitment by our competitors as we're seeing internally at TD, and we have a full program team dedicated to building a program that meets the needs of women investors at a grassroots level.
Now, when we think of money, and you think, well, money is money is money. But what is it about women and their money that it is different in the way that, you would approach it as opposed to men and their money?
It's a great question, because it's not a matter of having better marketing or taking what you have already and wrapping a pink bow around it, which tends to be the first thing most companies will do, really, and we see lots of examples of that in other industries. Window dressing. It's all about having a different conversation about investing. So what we've learned about women is that they don't need a different product, they don't need a pink bow, and what they need is a more holistic relationship with their advisors. So tell me about my whole life, not just the dollars and cents. They want to have a conversation about their life. And lots of empowerment through education. That's something women crave. They want to understand the process behind investing recommendations.
So is it to say then for men in general, it's more, I want to see the dollars landing on the page of my bank account. For women, it's how is this going to impact me, my family, my future, my retirement, my children, like everybody?
Absolutely. We did a really interesting exercise. We asked men and women across Canada to make collages to describe their ideal investing experience. And we gave everyone the same magazine cuttings all across Canada, different demographics. And time again, the women would produce a collage, and this was true of women across different geographies, across different socioeconomic categories, collages with images of family, peaceful, calming images, words like, I want to have peace of mind. And it was really funny when we contrasted that to what the men produced, which were lots of big, shiny objects, cars, boats, charts.
This doesn't surprise me.
One of them had cut out the letters to write the word, show me the money.
Oh, wow.
And it was really interesting because, looking at all these collages, you realize it's not that the investing industry was knowingly ignoring women. It's simply that we've always catered towards the male ideal, the investing experience. When you think about our marketing materials, how we're typically trained in the industry, it's always been catered towards, big shiny objects and the male ideal.
Well, Vanessa, I think part of your study found that there is a big, big gap in the market, that despite women's influence on the wealth market, only a small percentage feel financially successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 12% of women in our poll feel financially successful. And that's really disappointing. So it's not just that women are controlling wealth. As you mentioned, there is a need for our industry to do something to solve for this gap. And we categorize the reason women don't feel successful, or the barriers, as the 4 myths.
Okay.
One is the myth of time, or the belief that it takes a lot of time to have and maintain an investment plan. That's not true, because once you invest the upfront time in getting a plan, it's just a matter of maintaining it on an annual basis.
So in essence, the time would be finding the right advisor.
Right.
Getting to know that advisor, which would be something you would do if you were going to a dentist,
That's right.
to a doctor,
Absolutely.
to a hairdresser, to almost anyone.
Absolutely.
So it's just one part of your life, and it's actually a really important part of your life.
Exactly. And it's about taking something off your plate. So you have an advisor because you don't have to do everything day in, day out. It's not adding something.
So actually it is a myth, you're right, about the time.
Absolutely.
What are the other myths?
The myth of wealth, and this is a really interesting one, consistent with some of the findings in Sheryl Sandberg's book, which women tend to believe they need to be millionaires or have a lot of wealth to warrant the attention of an advisor. So men will actually put up their hand at a lower value of wealth when asked the question, do you believe you warrant the attention of a financial advisor? And a financial plan is really something every woman should have, irrespective of her wealth level.
And it's never really then too early as a young woman, perhaps, who's just getting started. This might be the actual prime time to get in.
It is indeed, because the longer you have, the more flexible your plan can be and the more choices you have.
But what about for women then, maybe who, in my age demographic, let's say, who perhaps were frightened, and really women's issues were not necessarily being addressed. We were not being targeted as, hey, you know what, you can get control of your money and make it work for you. I would think there's still that fear of walking in at this age and saying, I want to get started now.
It's true, and we find that this ambivalence about investing is true across different age groups. So we didn't notice, for example, that millennial women were less ambivalent, but we're certainly seeing in the baby boomer demographic lots of interesting issues emerge.
Well, the one being, is it too late? Is there time to even do anything?
Well, absolutely there is, and what we're hearing is interesting questions from your demographic. So whereas before it was very linear, that you worked until a certain age and then you were in this retirement phase, and that was a new phase, but it's a much more organic lifestyle now. So what we're hearing from women in your age bracket are, I've always really wanted to start a business. I'm doing something I'm passionate about. Can I do that? Or, I'd really like to help out my kids as they buy their first new house in Toronto, and the housing market's crazy. So many interesting, unique questions coming out of that demographic for sure.
And the other thing, too, is that we are living longer, and many women are divorced,
yes,
outliving their husbands, so they're single. And so what choice do they have? They have to kind of grab the reins.
Absolutely, and I was at a workshop a while back, and it was really interesting. It was a group of women that were either widowed or divorced, and they were in the 60-plus age range. And one of them said, I never expected to have to work. It's something I sometimes did in my marriage part-time as a hobby, but now that I have to work to support myself, it's a different kind of pressure, and a different set of choices that I'm having to deal with. And I wished I had planned for this and thought about it 10 years ago. That really struck me, that comment.
Well, it's interesting that TD has really taken the lead in I always call it mentoring women about their money, or mentoring women about business. Having had the experience myself as a TD customer of walking in when I opened a small business that I have, and totally supported. Like, it's amazing, because I think that was the most frightening thing to me, is how on earth do you do this on your own? But you're not really on your own.
Right, that's the value of advice.